TikTok users and retail traders are tracking politicians' financial disclosures to get some stock tips. And the findings are interesting.
Nancy Pelosi has been the one that the retail community has been following specifically. Every trade she was making inevitably turned out to be such a long-term winner. She bought Tesla, and then there were some laws passed that were pro for the EV market. She bought Google, and then the laws came out that they weren't going to go after big tech. And we've been tracking these performances, and every single stock she's bought in the last 2 years have gone up significantly.
Welcome back to Inside Four Walls. I'm your host, James Masson, and we're going to go into the new episode, which is Hawley introduces Pelosi Act banning lawmakers from trading stocks. Now, come on. This should be a bipartisan agreement, right? Pardon me. Sorry, I'm really tired, so I just chugged like half of a Red Bull in like a breath. Whoa. Anyway, this should be a bipartisan agreement, right? Let's say you're some far lefty, hate capitalism. One less person, a handful of less people, and it's the top of the food chain, capitalistically speaking, if you want to play this game, who would be no longer allowed to participate in this form of capitalism. Bam, win for you. Less people, and it's the people you see the most corrupt. You're some guy on the far right, or just the right in general, or anybody with the fucking common sense. You're like, well, these people have access to, sensitive information and can vote on policies and bills and regulations that would affect the market value of numerous companies, and that alone gives them leverage to decide which companies would be worth investing in because, they have like a policy coming up. They vote on it, and it would... let's say this, they have a bill coming up a couple months from now. This bill passes, it could make Google worth, hypothetically Google, right? Could make Google worth, twice what it's worth right now. Alright, well, then I'll just buy my Google right now while it's not worth very much, and then vote for the thing to pass. If it passes, oh, look, I already bought in Google when it wasn't worth very much, and now, or I bought Google and it was worth half of what it is now. But since the bill's passed, it's just skyrocketed in value, and I'm sitting here sitting pretty. It's a real unfair advantage, and there are some people pushing back on it, saying, well, it's just predatory, man. It's because the conservatives don't want people getting access to it. Well, this is going after everybody. This is a unilateral policy. No one in office, no one trading stocks. I like this. Good. Insider trading needs to be stopped. No more insiders fighting for insiders. Now let's get into it, shall we? U.S. Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Montana, reintroduced his bill to ban lawmakers from stock trading. The bill will require members found in violation to return their profits to the American taxpayers. The preventing elected leaders from owning securities and investments, Pelosi Act, would prohibit members of Congress from, buying and trading stocks. Well, Nancy, here's your moment to go down in history. Now, we're going to scroll down here. There's two articles I picked. As you can see here, High Factuality, Political Wire, it's never much of an article. It's always just like a paragraph. That's it. Not much meat and potatoes, but, Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Montana, has introduced a bill. It's pretty much what we just read, but there's not much substance to it. So, I chose The Hill. I think The Hill is a leftist rag. I'm not a big fan of The Hill. I think they're pretty trash, but they're considered center factuality with a high factuality rating. I disagree with this on Ground News' behalf. Well, on my behalf, I disagree with Ground News, but I want to choose a article that is seen as, I guess, generally a high factuality source, and then the second article will be one of my preference. And the one of my preferences is actually the source of this story, the Daily Caller, which is Tucker Carlson's news network. So we will go into the Daily Caller article after the Hill article. So let's go into it, shall we? It's Hawley, right? Josh Hawley? Okay. Hawley introduces Pelosi Act banning lawmakers from trading stocks. Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Montana, has introduced a bill that would ban members of the Congress from trading and owning... Let me get rid of this little thing here in the corner. trading and owning stocks using the name of his legislation to take a jab at Rep. Nancy Pelosi, outgoing Democrat from California. Notice how you left that out. It's just nice to be reminded that she's out. Hawley on Tuesday introduced the Pelosi Act, or the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments Act. Pelosi. Lol. I almost said A. I don't need to say A. Oh, stupid of me because I'm stupid. Anyway, renewing a legislative push to curtail stock trading by lawmakers that has failed over a few years. Quote, members of Congress and their spouses shouldn't be using their position to get rich on the stock market, Hawley tweeted in announcing his bill. The GOP senator previously introduced legislation last year seeking to ban lawmakers from and their spouses from holding stocks or making new transactions while in office. I get why you would want to make it so the spouses can't own stock, but at the same time, the spouses aren't, the spouses also aren't politically elected officials or, whatever, aren't publicly elected officials, then I don't know if it's fair to enforce that policy upon a private citizen. I don't know if you legally could. It's kind of a big ask. Perhaps you could have a rule set on trading or a monetizable exchange of some kind, but I don't personally think you're going to get very far with it if you keep that portion in on it, because, again, you're setting your rules and regulations on a private citizen. Yes, one thing on an elected official. Fair. But if their spouses aren't publicly elected officials, then I don't understand what the, I don't know. Seems interesting. I'll see where it goes. But let's move on, shall we? Members of Congress and their spouses shouldn't be using their position to get rich on the stock market, Hawley tweeted in announcing his bill. The GOP senator previously introduced legislation last year seeking to ban lawmakers and their spouses from holding stocks or making new transactions while in office. Pardon me. The Hill has reached out to Pelosi's office for comment. Hawley, like a number of other Republicans, has focused on the former speaker and her family in pushing to ban stock trading by members of Congress. Last year, Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, sold millions of dollars worth of shares of a computer chip maker as the House prepared to vote on a bill focused on domestic chip manufacturing. A spokesperson for Pelosi said at the time that he sold the shares at a loss. Members of both parties signaled interest in legislation barring stock trades after then-Senator Richard Burr, a Republican from North Carolina, who at the time was the chairman of the Senate. Ooh, wow. Just cleared my throat and I have a weird thing going on with my voice. I'll work with it. Senate Intelligence Committee unloaded stocks. At the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, the Securities and Exchange Commission recently closed a probe of his trading activities without taking action. Lawmakers have yet to be able to come up with a plan that garners enough support from both sides of the aisle to get a bill through Congress. Democrats in 2022 scrapped a plan to vote on such legislation before the midterm elections, even after Pelosi reversed course and expressed openness to colleagues. Yeah, voting for stock trading reform. Yeah, it was right after you announced that you were, first you were seeking a ambassadorship with Italy, and then you were just seeking an all-out oust of your political career. So, you got yours. You don't care the door closed on people behind you. Let's just be, let's just call a gimp horse, shall we? Along with Hawley's bill, a bipartisan duo in the House has introduced a bill this year on the topic. Rep. Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat from, Virginia? Yep, from Virginia, and Chip Roy. Chip Roy, a Republican from Texas, introduced the Trust in Congress Act this month, making the third time the pair have introduced the legislation. interesting stuff, is it not? So let's move on to the next article over here from the Daily Caller. Hawley introduces the Pelosi Act to ban Congress from insider trading. Now, this is the source that broke the story initially. And it seems kind of no duh, right? It seems like this is something that should have been done already. I don't understand why this has been such a... Well, I'm being a little bit facetious with a little tongue-in-cheek with that one. I can completely understand why, because a lot of the people in mover shakers, like the Liz Cheneys and the Mitt Romneys and the Nancy Pelosi's, who have been insider trading forever, have been benefiting of the system, and now they've either been voted out or they're stepping down or leaving office. They no longer care. People are no longer allowed to access the same benefits that they got to get rich. In fact, less people having access to the kind of benefits they had means they get to hoard more of the wealth to themselves. And of course they're going to do it. So let's continue. Article by Michael Ginsberg, congressional correspondent, January 24th, 2023. It is now January 25th at 2:27 a.m. This article was released at 2:06 p.m. yesterday afternoon. Missouri. I thought Montana, my bad. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley introduced legislation today, Tuesday, that would prohibit members of Congress from trading individual stocks. Hawley's preventing elected leaders from owning securities and investments Act requires members and their immediate family members to place stocks in qualified blind trusts. See, there you go. That's interesting. If the other article said that, I probably would have had a different little change of tune there. But I still think there's an ill-placed. I think there needs to be addressed grievances, because if you're a private citizen, there should be no reason why you can't buy and trade stocks. I understand the reason behind it. I'm just saying I feel like there's an infringement there, even if I am not exactly comfortable with saying it out loud, because, it gives people I don't like the out, but at the same time, if I'm going to sit here and act like I have someone with some fucking integrity, I gotta be like, well, it sucks, but them's the breaks. It's kind of like, Second Amendment is kind of clear. If you don't like how it's written, then you have to have a convention of states. But the way it's written, man, people should be allowed to own recreational nukes. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying that's how it's written. But let's move on. Completely off topic. But I'm trying to pad this out a little bit. So, and their immediate family members to place stocks in a qualified blind trust. If members do not do so, they must forfeit the stock to the U.S. Treasury according to legislation. The senator introduced similar legislation in the 117th Congress. So if you don't put your stocks into the little trust, you will give your money to the machine. You have no options. Quote, for too long, politicians in Washington have taken advantage of the economic system. They write the rules for turning profits for themselves at the expense of the American people, Hawley said in a statement, quote, as members of Congress, both senators and representatives are tasked with providing oversight of the same companies they invest in, yet they continually buy and sell stocks, outperforming the markets time and again. From Abigail Marone over here. New Hawley MO announced the Pelosi Act. Let's see, pull it up here and I'll read it now that I'm active on Twitter again. If it would load, okay. For immediate release, January 24th, 2023, Hawley announces Pelosi Act. Reintroduction of bill to ban lawmakers from trading stocks. Josh Hawley, U.S. Senator for Missouri. Washington, today, U.S. Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, reintroduced his bill to ban lawmakers from stock trading. The Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, Pelosi Act, would prohibit members of Congress and their spouses from holding or trading individual stocks. The bill will require members found in violations to return their profits to the American taxpayers. Quote, for too long, politicians in Washington... We've already read all this. Let's go down here to the background, shall we? Oh, wait, hold on. Actually, you know what? There is more to this. I will reread this. Quote, for too long, politicians in Washington have taken advantage of the economic system. They write the rules, turning profits for themselves at the expense of the American people. As members of Congress, both senators and representatives are tasked with providing oversight of the same companies they invest in. They continually buy and sell stocks, outperforming the market time and again, said Senator Hawley. Quote, while Wall Street and big tech companies work hand in hand with elected officials to enrich each other, hardworking Americans pay the price. The solution is clear. We must immediately and permanently ban all members of Congress from trading stocks. The background. The Pelosi Act will prohibit members of Congress and their spouses from holding, acquiring, or selling stocks or equivalent economic interests during their tenure in elected office. Any holdings in diversified mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, or U.S. Treasury bonds are exempt from prohibition. Given members of Congress, Part 2, given members of Congress and their spouses 6 months upon assuming office to divest any prohibited holdings or place those holdings in a blind trust for the remainder of the tenure in office. 3. Ensure members or their spouses forfeit any investment profits to the American people via the U.S. Treasury if they are found to be in violation of the Act. Members who violated the requirements will also lose the ability to deduct the losses of those investments on their income taxes. The Ethics Committee of Congress may levy additional fines and will publicize violations. 4. Require that after 2 years the Act's implementation, the Government Accountability Office, GAO, will conduct an audit of members' compliance with the Act. So hopefully that's a renewing thing for every couple of years. Senator Hawley originally introduced the Banning Insider Trading in Congress Act last Congress. Nice. This right here is just base as fuck. I'm gonna retweet this one out. Bam, I like that one. Nancy Pelosi wants to still be relevant. Here you go. Yeah, no shit. Wow. I like this. Now we're going to hop over here to the last thing I want to show you. From Unusual Whales. Let me drop a follow here. I just released the full trading report on politicians in 2021. In short, many beat the market. They traded more than ever before, and they made numerous unusual timed trades, resulting in huge gains. Right here, the blue is Democrat, red is Republican, and SPY is the stock. So let's check it out. SPY is all the way down here. As you see, we got some names not a lot of names I recognize off the bat, actually. Let's see. Ron Wyden, I recognize Ron Wyden. Dean Phillips. The more we get up the list, the more we start to recognize. Mitch McConnell, of course. Shelley Capito. Alright. Mo Brooks. Don Breyer. Alright, you know what? I'm going to do this in this order. From lowest to highest. I'm going to read it out. Okay, so the bottom of the list, from lowest to highest. Thomas Carper, Democrat. William Keaton, Democrat. Kathy Castor, Democrat. Blake Moore, Republican. Lloyd Doggett, Democrat. John Yamuth, Democrat. Josh Gadamer, Democrat. August Funger, Republican. Tommy Tuberville, Republican. Ron Wyden, Democrat. Elaine Lura, Democrat. Dean Phillips, Democrat. Deborah Ross, Democrat. David Joyce, Republican. Catherine Clark, Democrat. Thomas Sozzi, Democrat. Mitch McConnell, Republican. Shelby Capito, Republican. Shelley Capito, Republican. Alan Lowenthal, Democrat. Victoria Spartz, Republican. Mo Brooks, Republican. Don Breyer, Democrat. Earl Blumenauer, Democrat. Michael Guest, Republican. Jim Legevin, Democrat. Debbie Dingell, Democrat. Peter Welch, Democrat. David McKinley, Republican. David Roser, Republican. Nancy Pelosi, Democrat. Dan, the World Economic Forum pass-around bitch boy, Crenshaw. John Curtis, Republican. French Hill, another World Economic Forum, Republican. Brian Mast, another World Economic Forum Republican. And Austin Scott, again, another World Economic Forum Republican. And you will notice something. And this is something I want to point out and make it clear here. Nancy Pelosi unfairly gets painted with the brush of being the biggest one. She always comes out on top of this. No, she almost doesn't, actually. No, don't get me wrong. These are like the best performing people in the system. Like, these are making millions of dollars hand over fist regularly by insider trading and taking advantage of the American people while they pass rules and regulations that defraud you, cut your income, take more money from your hardworking paychecks, and leave you at less and less and less until you can barely figure out how to feed your kids, figure out how to put gas in your car to get to work, and live your life. This is bullshit. These people are living it up. But Nancy Pelosi is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 down the list. 6 from the top. Interesting to take note. But who are the top 5? They're all Republicans, 4 of which are World Economic Forum affiliates. I'm surprised Dan Crenshaw is lower than that, is as low as he is. I would have expected him to be in the top 3, but he's not. But we'll see what comes of this. That being said, this has been Inside Four Walls. I've been your host, James Madison, and I shall catch you guys later. Deuce.